community, or at least West Flanders plays together with Lars that we've already seen in the feature match as well. Emiel is playing, looks like Esper control and Michael as well. So we'll have a feature, a mirror match Esper control. We could be in for a very long run. So this is round 6. We're on our way. Emiel versus Michael. Let's go. Seems like opt. Can I cheat the search engine? No, I can't cheat the search engine. I have to scroll through. It's unfortunate. Okay, we have an opt smoothing mana for Emiel. I am checking this correctly, right? There's white as well. Oh, there are some interesting things in there though. Ah, no, we are on blue-white control. Yeah, it's blue-white control versus Esper. And we have Sailor Moon for Emiel, Prophetic Prism for Michael, and an What? How did that pop up? Aviary Mechanic, taking back the Prism and generating some mana advantage, while the treasure from the Sailor Moon gets Cloud Blazer out 1 turn early. Bovenaan uw getal tippen. Aan de bovenkant van uw getal tippen. Ja. The Live Total app causing some confusion here. Okay. And we are on our way. Expect a very long, drawn-out game that won't have a lot of action in the earlier rounds, will feature a lot of stress in the mid-game, and then will give Emiel theoretically a stronger position in the late game. Just checking if he is playing any sweepers. Yes, he has Fumigate, Dredge Gearhulk, Approach of the Second Sun, and Settle the Wreckage. So he has the sweepers. Michael has the mid game with a bunch of possibilities. That's an Vengeful Rebel for Michael. A fixture in his decks. He played that last time around as well. I think he's the only one who actually plays them, but I'm a very big fan of them. He's also a lot more invested in the blink mechanic with aviary mechanics and renegade maps. Yeah, renegade maps to enable revolt. So more of a revolt blink deck than the true classic blink Esper blink decks that we've seen from other players. So a different take on a very familiar deck archetype here. Prophetic Prism again. For Michael. And we have, what's that called again? Ether Meltdown, I think. From Emiel. So seems to have an energy theme stuck in there as well. Looking for it, but not really seeing it. So this is just what it is. The energy doesn't do anything extra for him. So some interesting card choices from him as well. A very different looking deck from what we saw from Sander de Rudder. Okay. Cloud Blazer number 2. Michael also very much focused on fighting the game on board, so doesn't have that much interaction on the stack. Acrobatic maneuver. So is playing dedicated blink cards, which is obviously horrible for the Ether Meltdown here. He's playing a full set of 4 acrobatic maneuvers. It's, like I said, a lot more invested in the Revolt and Blink theme than other people with the Esper EtB decks, as the cool kids say it, are. As we see Emiel trying to mitigate as much damage as he can, knowing that in the late game he should have the upper hand. And Michael has a bit of a problem putting enough pressure on the board here. Okay. Ether Meltdown returns on the Vengeful Rebel, and we have another acrobatic maneuver to get rid of it immediately. Ether Meltdown, that's the one. Emiel struggling to at this point stay in the game, as Michael has all the answers at this point against his very on-board oriented control pieces. Ether Meltdown considerably worse than Cast Out in that regard. Which, yeah, he's only playing 2 Cast Out and 2 Excellence Binding. And there we have Scuttle the Wreckage as a 2/4, as Settle the Wreckage. For some reason in my brain it says Scuttle the Wreckage. Whatever. Not the most exciting settle for sure. Equalizes the mana development between these 2 decks, that's true. And now Michael will start playing his Cloud Blazers. But I think that got negated. I think the Cloud Blazer got Essence scattered. Can't see the graveyard that well. Michael just poking in Cloud Blazer number 2 for him. Gets met with a cancel. Now we have a hieroglyphic illumination into opt for Emiel to set up his hand and his place for the next couple of turns. That's at this point looking for something to fight back again. His victory conditions are rather limited, like not counting Sailor of Means. We have 3 Cloud Blazers, a Torrential Gearhulk and 1 Approach of the Sun. So So might take a while for him to dig into an actual victory condition there. Oh. Noxious Gear Hulk. Without using the trigger, gets cast out. As Emiel stays comfortably in his position, still has 7 turns. Oh, but there is a Torrential Gear Hulk hiding in his hand already. For those of you wondering about the background chatter, we are in Outpost Gent right now, so there are a bunch of people around us. Gonti. Ooh, Gonti gets a Torrential Gear Hulk as a response, which Essence scatters away the Gonti. So those are 2 very big cards for Michael to put extra pressure on Emiel, neutralized. Still has that aviary mechanic, but of course that won't really do much anymore with a 5-6 on the other side of the table. As we now see Emiel going onto the offensive. Okay, let's see. Okay, a hostage taker. 3 rares in a row for Michael. Takes the Gear Hulk hostage and plays it immediately, so he'll get to play. Oh, he's blinking the Torrential Gear Hulk. Okay, I had to jump to intervene there. Michael misinterpreted how the Torrential Gear Hulk would work. It does return under its owner's control. So not that good for him. It says so on the acrobatic maneuver as well. So a misplay here from Michael. Now let's hope it doesn't cost him too much. We have a supernatural stamina. To get them to try. Ooh, but a perilous voyage, I think that is. Yeah, perilous voyage. Yeah. For Emiel thwarts that plan. That returned the aviary mechanic, I think. Or even his chupacabra is so hungry it could even eat a Gear Hulk. Yeah, that was that could prove to be pretty costly, but let's hope Michael can put himself beyond that mistake. And he's looking pretty safe here. Bounces a Prophetic Prism and replays it to draw an extra card. have approach of the second sun. So the timer has started running for Michael. Emiel on 19 life, facing down a 5-turn clock. So we'll need to influence the board or draw some extra cards. Of course, cards like Strategic Planning or Supreme will draw him faster. I see 2 Supreme Wills in his deck. Doesn't have the Strategic Planning that we saw from Sander de Rudder. So he'll be a bit slower in digging towards that approach of the second sun. Scarab God for Michael, so 4th mythic. And Emiel digs. Sees the second Supreme Will that will find him his approach. So he could just let the Scarab God resolve and win next turn. Yeah. Get Supreme Will, and Michael should also know what that means for him. Oh, Emiel. Oh yeah, gets Gonti back, and Gonti will eat the approach of the second sun. Yeah, very nice play from Michael there. I did not see that that sequence. Yeah, Emiel should have responded to still to the Scarab God with the second Supreme Will to find the approach of the second sun there. So looks like he might lose this based on a technicality. Excellence Binding gets rid of the Scarab God, and I will never be able to cast it again. And we have a Fumigate to clear the board. So we are back to this grindy end game where Michael is trying to push through before Emiel finds another victory condition. Now we already seen the Torrential Gearhulk pass and an approach of the sun. 2 Cloud Blazers at least. I think we saw the third one getting shuffled to the bottom with the Supreme Will. So that could mean that at this point Sailor of Means and 1 Cloud Blazer on the bottom of his deck will be the only victory conditions he has left, which is a pretty dire situation for Emiel to be in, but it could be that neither players actually realize this fully. Ether Meltdown on the Zealot. As we see, don't think that's necessary. Emiel could have waited quite a bit. I also think that he'll be the one that gets milled out the first, if it should come to that. Let's check if Michael has any main deck enchantment removal. They're sometimes playing like a one of Forsake the Worldly, but I don't see that hiding out in his deck. He has some blink effects still. Second Zealot. The second Zealot also gets Aether Meltdown. So they're now checking to see who will get milled out faster, because they are most likely have the amount of removal and permission to fight through this. Because either Michael has way more cards in his library or is already behind. Can't really see from where we're standing here, but we have entered the realm of awkwardness. We've only almost eaten half the time in a round, so thankfully these players are playing pretty quickly. So this match might still reach a natural conclusion. Now another perilous voyage. Also scries too, because this time it has bounced a creature with converted mana cost 2 or less. I'm not sure why Michael just lost 2 life though. Counting again, like I said, all Emiel has left is a 1 or 2 Sailor of Means and 1 Cloud Blazer as his possible victory conditions. And again, I'm not sure if either player is aware of the exact position they're in right now. He did find the Cloud Blazer. So all he needs to do now is control the clock and attack for lethal. And there is the Sailor. Let's see what Michael has been hoarding in that hand of his up to now. Because he doesn't have advantage on the board right now, but he has a full grip. See some blink effects there. Fetches. Doesn't have any basics anymore. It's mostly to check what he could still get. And it's amazing how hard it is for people not to walk into... Okay. Vengeful Rebel gets Essence scattered by Emiel. Protects his victory condition. That Cloud Blazer. 6 turn clock. And we've eaten half the time in the round now. Going on the offensive with the Sailor. Michael blocking with this molten down I'm not sure why he lost 3 life though. So Emiel at this point had a very mild advantage. Ravenous Chupacabra from Michael to neutralize that, and Michiel can't talk anymore. Emiel scoops them up, probably knows he has 0 victory conditions left in his deck, and it is 1-0 for Michael. If whoever player wins this round is probably locked in for top 8, so a very big deal. So let's have a look at what these players can bring to the table. For Emiel, we have 2 Spell Pierce, 4 Slash of Talents, 4 Negates, 3 Compulsory Rests, and 2 Forsake the Worldly. Not that much to come in. The Negates are a lot better against Michael than against other Esper decks, so that might come in. Don't think the Slash of Talents are that interesting. Spell Pierce, it's not the matchup for this. Unless you're anticipating long drawn out counter battles, but I don't think that will be the case. Compulsory Rest, he's playing Blink. We already saw with the Ether Meltdowns that those are really bad. So I'm expecting Ether Meltdown to come out and make space for extra counter spells. Yep. Then for Michael Milis, we set up a little better for this matchup. With his Blink mechanic, has a sideboard of 2 Final Reward, 3 Forsake the Worldly, 3 Duress, 2 Moment of Craving, 2 Golden Demise, 2 Essence Scatter, and 1 Negate. So what he will definitely want are the Duresses and probably the Negate. There's not that much value in the rest. Forsake the Worldly. It's more a card for Emiel. It's more a card for Michael. Forsake the Worldly will probably come in as well. And he has the Fatal Push to cut, since that has barely any interesting targets. And there are some more cards he can shave off a little bit. We're currently looking at people sideboarding to start game 2 here in round 6. Michael is up 1 game, a very long drawn out game that ended because, and I kid you not, Emiel had no cards in his deck anymore that could win him the game. That's why he that's why he scooped. He would have lost 5 turns later. So even though there was a pretty big misplay for Michael there, he's still managed to pull out the game. And now we have 22 minutes as we head into round 2. So for Emiel, it will likely be the attempt to make this a draw. It's Emiel, Michael, as Michael tries to secure this win. The rest comes out. Let's choose between Negate or one of the 2 Hieroglyphic Illuminations. Chooses the Hieroglyphic Illumination and leaves Emiel with a very soft hand. Michael should be pretty happy about that. Dusk Legion Zealot. For Michael, again, the most played card in Gentry, at least in these coverage events. I think we only had 1 match so far that didn't feature at least one side playing them. Silly Sailor for Emiel, neutralizing the pressure that Zealot could bring to the table. Ooh, but we have Mr. number 2, Zealot number 2 to the rescue. So dramatic. Duress number 2. I think I would have waited a little bit longer for this one in the hopes of snagging something more instrumental. Like, he only drew 2 cards at this point, so not that much chance to get out more than a Hieroglyphic Illumination or a Negate, unless that Illumination was the target the entire time, of course. My card viewer is flipping out. Sailor number 2. And a cycle from Michael and a Renegade map. So further fixing his mana. He's getting a bit stuck in the land department, so should be happy to have that. Also enables revolt of his Vengeful Rebels, but right now these people are in a race with 1 power creatures. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, not that impressive, but hey, if it gets the job done. Emiel doesn't mind. He's winning this race and he needs the games to go fast, so swinging back and forth for 2. I just hope that the life totals are correct, since Michael seems hell-bent on using his piece of paper rather than the life total viewer. So the race is over. Now Michael has the advantage. In Emiel's hand we see an excellence binding and what might be approach of the second sun. Yep, looks like it. Approach of the second sun for Emiel goes back up to 23. There we go. And we have a Scarab God for Michael. Emiel has that excellence binding waiting in his hand. And since Michael tapped out for that, means he cannot defend his Scarab God there. Natuurlijk. Ja. Ja.
Dirk aangetraind voor een Scarab God, zodat hij 32 stond. Ja. Die blijft 32. Die zou ongeveer 39 zijn. Scarab God is gezakt. Mooi. Ja, maar als ik kan het waar gaan bewaren. Hopelijk stijgen. Ja, daar denk ik op. Ik heb van de editions heb ik er 2 gekocht.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, Noxious Gear Hulk entered the fray for Michael, trying to put on more pressure, but the second excellence binding takes care of that. It's kind of a feel bad to play excellence binding on those, since you don't get to use the second ability. Ooh, what we have forsake the worldly. Choosing the Gear Hulk here to get the Gear Hulk back in order to put on as much pressure as possible. I'm not sure how far we are from approach of the second sun. We know it's hiding in the library. I think it's 4 cards deep. Negate stops an acrobatic maneuver on a zealot. Seems a bit underwhelming again to blow a negate on, but not sure what else Emiel could be countering here. Michael drawing into more cards, getting ready. Hostage taker just as a 2-3 and the handshake, and that does mean that Michael wins this game 2-0. Very interesting development towards the end there. We saw Michael stumble a little bit in game 1, making a bit of a silly play mistake there, especially from someone of his caliber, with blinking a hostage taken torrential Gear Hulk. Emiel not getting the tools he needed to fight back in game 2. We can actually put it like that, as Michael only needed to put on pressure to avoid losing to the second approach of the second sun that Emiel couldn't dig into. So pretty interesting things there. We'll go back to